Welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to talk about a topic that is very close to me and something that affected me personally, especially in the past 2 years. And I want to talk about this because I think it's actually more important than ever to talk about the struggles of young men and what is happening to us during our prime years and why we're not necessarily seeing the success that we were told that we would achieve if we just listened to the adults in the room and we just basically did what society expected us to do. Yet here we are in our uh, you know uh, early 30s, maybe late 20s, perhaps even early 40s, and we're looking at a situation where maybe uh, meritocracy is not really working out for young men, and it's not really helping us in any shape or form because again we were told that all we have to do is just get that degree, uh, go get a good job, or start that side hustle or start that business, and everything's going to be okay. But in the past 5 years, I'd say I started to realize more and more that the system is rigged and it's completely against us. To be honest, no matter whether you're a business owner or you are you are just simply an employee, it doesn't really matter because no matter how we're looking at it, we are getting screwed over by an unfair system, and it's actually affecting us quite a bit. And unfortunately, I think it's a good idea to perhaps watch a video about uh, how experts view this and some of the numbers. So this is a completely new format I'm trying to uh, experiment with. I haven't done a reaction video before, so I want to see how it's going to turn out, if it's going to be any different. Obviously, getting all the data prepared and everything it takes a long time. So I want to see how something like this would perform, and yeah, let's get right into it. So uh, please go ahead and take a look at this guy's channel. I think he's really really great. His channel's name is A Life After a Layoff, and this video specifically stood out to me because I felt uh, I related to it quite a bit. And once, as I'm going through the video, I'm going to kind of talk to you guys about some of the experiences I had over the past 5 years in terms of uh, business and also employment. And that way, you guys hopefully find it useful and relatable as well, that I get into like the personal stuff, which I haven't really done before too specifically. So here we go. And before I do that, I'm gonna reduce the playback to like normal instead of one, or sorry, two. Okay, here we go. Let's watch this.
Working age men perfectly capable are leaving the traditional workforce in droves. Now, it's really happening. And it's not just a few men here and there. I'm talking millions of working age men who are opting out of the 9 to 5 world. And it's creating a quiet crisis that not enough people are talking about. And so today, we're going to be doing exactly that, diving into what's going on, why it matters, and why this trend could potentially hurt everyone, including the men themselves. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Brian, and I'm a corporate recruiter and an HR professional with over 20 years of experience interviewing and hiring thousands of people into some of the world's largest and most well-respected companies. And I've made it my mission to demystify how careers and job search works in the corporate world. So if this kind of content interests you, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And if you're tired of employers holding all of the cards, and maybe you're somebody who is considering leaving the workforce as a result, then it's critical that you learn how to reclaim control over your career. Now, I've created a free 1.5 hour.
Now, here's one of the issues I have found, especially since last year. employers do hold the cards, and we have very, very little control. The problem in the United States is that there's basically no social safety nets at all. Like whatever. Like if your boss decides to fire you, like that's it. Like they will not tell you in advance. They don't have to tell you in advance. There's no regulation requiring you to tell anything to you in advance. But you have to hand your notice in, let's say a 30-day notice or a 14-day notice. And then you're kind of cooked, right? Because let's say, the person decides to switch things around and pivot, right? That's when things can get really interesting, because the big problem I see, so I've been doing business and I've been in and out of like employment as well, in terms of, doing some work for agencies. Uh, and then I've also been out on my own, running my own business. And basically, what I found overall is that things are getting really tight at this minute, and it's becoming more difficult to find good and stable work. And if you're interested in topics like this, I'm sure that you've seen videos about this, where people are saying that it's impossible to get a good and stable job, and that has basically disappeared. So back in the day when our parents were young, when they started working, or when they were around like our age, it was much difficult. It was so different for them. It was ridiculously uh, different. And nowadays, maybe even if you stick around for longer, like maybe you're gonna have a job for like 3 years and something is going to happen. And that has been my experience, right? I stayed at a company like for 3 years and something happened. And like there was like one particular situation where I was working for this agency, and then essentially the CEO left all of a sudden, like at the beginning of the year. And then a bunch of senior people left as well. And that created obviously a lot of havoc. And then because they haven't hired more senior people, only juniors, whoever was left, we had to handle like all the crazy accounts that required more experience. But previously we were not trained to handle the bigger accounts or anything, so we were left with pretty much like no help, and we were just kind of told deal with it. And that's pretty common. And let me know like what you guys experience, um, or if you experience anything like that. Not only that, I feel work environments have become very toxic. So one of the reasons why I actually went out on my own, I was, to be honest with you, like I do media buying, by the way. If you are completely new to this channel and like you haven't interacted with my videos, I've been doing media buying for the past 8 years. So basically, I buy ads on the Meta platforms, Meta and Instagram. But uh, yeah, like it's something that I want to step away from in the long run, or at least I'm trying to get out of it. But back in the day, what happened to me was I was not happy at, at that time, because essentially I was handling a lot of work. I was basically burnt out. And by the end of my tenure at this agency, I was basically diagnosed with adjustment disorder. Uh, so I was a mess. My wife and I thought that I had depression. It turned out I didn't have depression, which is good. I dealt with panic attacks and anxiety like pretty much since I was like, I don't know, like 17 or something, since high school. Um, but as I was growing up, like I got pretty okay at like handling it, right? It was particularly bad when I was younger, but in my early 20s, like I was fine. Like I never really had like crazy episodes or anything, but it was always there. So it was. actually really scary because when I left this agency, that was the first time I actually got burnt out like pretty hard. I got burnt out that year. I got burnt out like probably like 2 or 3 times, and yeah, like I was basically handling like multiple accounts all by myself, no help, no support. And then I spent with my supervision, we spent like almost $1 million in several ad accounts, again without any support. Middle management was pretty much non-existent, and yeah, I was absolutely cooked. I was diagnosed with adjustment disorder, and that's the very reason why I decided to go out on my own. And actually, uh, the gentleman is going to talk about that in a bit. So yeah, I'm just gonna resume the video, and we can move
Our
forward.
webinar teaching exactly how you can do this yourself. So if you're ready to become the CEO of your career, check it out. I will leave a link in the comments below. So, why are men leaving the workforce and why is that a problem? Let's start with the numbers. Right now, over 7 million prime working age men in the United States aren't working and they aren't even looking for work. That's nearly 1 out of every 9 men between the ages of 25 and 54. And before anybody jumps to conclusions, no, they're not all just lazy. It's a little bit more complicated than that. So let's break this down. We've outsourced, automated, and restructured entire industries over the past 30 years.
So those numbers are absolutely insane, and I completely agree with him. Guys are not lazy; they're pissed off, very pissed off. And I was one of those guys because when work conditions become so unstable, so toxic that it's basically it's basically a clusterfuck designed to serve the older employees because they have kids already, and well, I have more expenses and I've been here longer. But actually, from an industry perspective, I don't even know that much. Or maybe I have the experience, but it's out of date, and I'm just here because, well, someone needs to be X, Y, and Z and CX and whatever, right? Um, and it's actually really alarming. And that was so the first time I got burnt out and I was diagnosed with adjustment disorder, like that's when I started to realize like something is off because I was working my ass off. I was pretty much putting in like 12-hour days almost every day, right? I was extremely stressed. I received pretty much no support, right? And it was bad, like it was bad. It was I feel I wasn't valued, and looking back, sure, we could say I had less experience, sure, but then you know no one validated, like actually people completely disregarded the fact that I had like any type of psychological condition. Because why? Like, what do you mean? I don't have it, so you shouldn't have it either. Right? And I think that's what a lot of young guys feel. It's, what, not even young guys, like it can be older guys as well, where you just don't feel valued. And after a couple of burnouts, you go, this is not worth it anymore, like I need to make some changes. So yeah, it's a little insane. um and I definitely feel that those numbers are just crazy, that there's 7 million people out there not working. um and yeah, like the gentleman is going to get into like why. So yeah, let's continue.
And as you know, the employment pendulum swinging back and forth is a bit like whiplash, especially over the last few years. Of course, today, the job market is decidedly in favor of the employer and not the employee. And jobs that
That is so freaking true. And this has been the case for a long time, right? Because so here's where it gets interesting. If you want to check out my wage inequality video, I highly recommend that one because that one's a little bit more data heavy, right? I'm trying different formats. So with that video, if you watch it, you'll see that unemployment rate. So when unemployment rate is high, that's when the employer has more control over what's going on. Now the problem is, I feel the unemployment rate numbers that are being reported, they're basically being manipulated, and it doesn't reflect the actual state of the job market and the labor market. And what we're looking at really is, you know, look, we don't even know what the numbers are. And I feel, yes, definitely employers control everything right now. Not only that, they have way too much control, and there's no safety nets. And actually, if you look it up, there's a couple of initiatives from California and also New York where freelancers are being protected. We're going to get into a couple of things about the gig economy as well in a bit, but yeah, like if you live outside of, and again, like the one in New York, that's only a city law. So as far as I know, the entire state is not being protected. But please correct me if I'm wrong. And it's only the only other place where there's some type of a law protecting gig workers and independent contractors. It's California. All right. So the problem there is that if you live in any other state, you're not being protected, as far as I know. So yeah, it's definitely really rough out there, especially when there's so much emphasis on just showing off on social media, and there's a lot of pressure on them, and that's actually one of the reasons why there's so much instability as well. That a lot of times your wage goes into someone's your employer's media budget, and it doesn't go toward your actual salary, so there's wage stagnation as well. But yeah, that's another topic.
It used to provide a solid middle class income for men without necessarily requiring college degrees, thinking manufacturing, construction, even some management positions in logistics have either dried up or they have turned into a low paying grind fest with no benefits and no clear path of promotion. And with companies increasingly looking to outsource, offshore, even replace workers with AI and technical and data fields in particular, working age men are finding it difficult to get a foothold in their careers. Then we have credential creep. You want to work in operations, logistics, even project management. You used to be able to work your way up in an organization, but now you need a bachelor's degree just to get past the applicant tracking system. And let's face it, for many of these jobs, the degree is simply a barrier to entry and it's not really a necessity in a lot.
I couldn't agree more. It's really difficult to climb up the ladder, and usually what you need to do to climb up in a lot of cases is not really worth it anymore, because I mean, I'm sure that even back in the day, this might have been a thing where maybe not everything was completely based on meritocracy, right? Especially in corporate America. Like, I'm sure that you have to play the game, and then if you play the game, you're going to get rewarded. That's fine. The problem is there's literally no way for you to climb the ladder, because even if you do, if you get promoted, um, maybe the pay is not going to be there. Like, that's ridiculous as well. And I've seen that happening many, many times where, let's say, someone is being promoted and then they're offered like the position, and the person really wanted the position, and with the position, like, you don't get like a salary increase at all, right? And then you end up doing the more work for the same amount of money. I think that also kind of uh, prevents people from wanting more, because what's the point in working more if I'm not going to get paid for it? So there's all these uncertainties and all these issues, right? And I think it's really being reflected in the numbers. So
A lot of men are highly skilled, highly capable, yet they get disqualified at the application level. And it's all because they don't have the right piece of paper. And I'm sure a lot of you can imagine, or probably have even experienced, having 15 years of hands on experience and still getting ghosted because you didn't finish college. Seems pretty ridiculous, but honestly, I've personally seen this happen more times than I can count. And it absolutely takes
so I can bring up a personal anecdote here. So I've done some project work for like a year for Google, right? I was taking part in something called the Google Digital Garage. I was doing that in Scotland specifically, and what happened was, we were teaching digital skills and stuff like that, and I talked to a lot of people, and this was like 5 years ago, right? Like, not yesterday. And what happened was, more often than not, when the person had a marketing degree of some sort, when I asked, like, okay, so do you have any experience in Google ads, Facebook ads, social media marketing, anything digital? The answer was no. And I don't have like a fully up to date picture on whether digital marketing is being like fully taught in school, but I am pretty sure that no one's going to sit down with you and take you through like an ad account. And this is how you do this. This is how you do that. They're going to teach you basic stuff where, they talk to you about branding and what branding is, or they're going to tell you about like the 4 Ps, like all the basic stuff. And then you have to go to work, and this is like real talk, right? Like, I used to work with this kid, early 20s, that sort of thing. And he didn't know how to write an email at all. And he was in college. Like, he didn't know how to, like, he had no idea. And I feel in school, like, we're not really being taught, like, how to actually, like, apply the skills. So, so this is really true that even if you have the degree, that doesn't make you qualified for the job at all, especially in marketing. And just think about what's going to happen with AI. Like, just imagine if they want you to have experience in AI, where are you going to go to get the qualification? Where? Like like where are you going to get the qualification for it? Like, it doesn't exist. I haven't specifically seen an like uh like a job posting where they ask you for like uh college level AI education. I'm sure it's going to happen later, but yeah, like there's definitely mismatched expectations that are affecting everyone.
Takes a toll.
Hey, good. How you doing? Before we get into anything, I do have an update for you I wanted to share. I'm going to be putting my resignation in.
Yeah.
So I'm actually starting a business with my wife.
Oh, wow, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, we are going to be selling vintage handbags. Thanks. All right. See ya.
Yes. Yes, 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 yes.
Now, let's be honest. Every single time I make a video like this, there are people in the peanut gallery who say, it's time to start your own business. Just leave the workforce and do your own thing. But social media has sold us a fantasy. Now everybody is a founder. We're into drop shipping, we're into day trading, we're into reselling, we're into coaching, we're into starting YouTube channels. And hey, I'm an entrepreneur myself, so I totally get it. But statistically speaking, most small businesses fail within the first 5 years. And listen, I speak with direct experience. It's tough, it's isolating. And a lot of people simply aren't built for the grind that comes with running a real business.
So I can totally relate to this. So what happened to me when I got burnt out pretty hard, I didn't work for like a month, like a good month. I just had to like completely step away from work. I had to go home because I was a complete mess. Um, and yeah, I was basically recovering for several weeks because I was being told that what I feel is not valid, even though the psychologist I went to diagnosed me with adjustment disorder. And they didn't really care. I mean, I handed in my resignation, by the way. They didn't fire me or anything. Um, so went home and pretty much like try to relax and just step away from everything for a little while and try to recover. And then I decided, well, I don't want that to happen again. So I'm going to, just like the guy said, go out on my own and I'm going to do my thing. Right. That's what happened. And I did that for 2 years. And oh boy, like it was very difficult. Sorry, not even 2 years. Like I've done it pretty much for 3 years. And it's hard. It's hard as hell. Really hard. Extremely hard. Like I cannot even tell you how hard it is. Because when you have stable employment and everything has been working out, like you get a paycheck every month, obviously it's less stressful. But then that's where everything falls apart, right? Because I felt like the work environment was so toxic and I got so exhausted. Like working for myself is going to be better because at least I set the pace and I don't have to listen to anyone dictating like how much work I need to do and you know getting squeezed when actually like you know like you get like I was hitting KPIs, right? The account I managed spend the most they ever spend a month, and that was still not enough. I was told, well, your team is not profitable. Okay, well then find someone else who is profitable or who's going to make the team more profitable. They, by the way, they could have just switched things around, so that was pretty much bullshit. But whatever. But the point is, it's very difficult, very very difficult to go out on your own. I'm still doing it to a certain extent. I try to do something else. Last year, things have gone so bad because of it was a combination of the election plus people were kind of like holding on to their money. So I started losing clients and I just kind of had enough around November. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to go back and do agency work. Well, guess what? The year started, 2025 started, and the whole thing started to fold because the tariffs started to happen, and then that started to impact online businesses big time. So after a matter of a couple of months, I'm back at square one. So okay, cool. So what's going on here? Because I try to be out on my own. Things got tough. Then I try to go back and do the agency work. And then that is unstable. So what am I supposed to do? And yeah, like I'm just tired of it. I'm just really, really tired of it. All of it. Like being mistreated all the time, not getting paid. That happened several times. I'm still dealing with that right now. In terms of my the previous position I had, I still didn't get paid. Still waiting for the guy to pay me, and he doesn't have money. Okay, so what am I supposed to do? Well, I could take him to court, but is it really worth it? Yeah. So, and I don't know if you can relate to this, but yeah, I think young men overall are just getting really pissed off, including me, because pretty much everything is stacked against us, and what can we do? Nothing. We just like I want to work. I want to do my thing. And don't get me wrong, like I still have clients and I'm still doing what I have to do, but I don't want to kill myself. I don't want to work 12-hour days. It's not worth it. It's really not. And you're in this limbo of like, okay, so what am I supposed to do? Because I was told I'm going to get rewarded if I work hard. Well, that's not really happening because every single time, like, I don't want to go into like giving you guys like a case study, right? Like in terms of like what I've done and how I've done it and whatever. Um, Feel free to check out some of my previous videos I made about like coaching and whatever, and that will give you a good idea. But yeah, it's really tough when you go out on your own, and then especially in 2025 to start your own business. I think it's even harder than ever because some of the businesses I've seen, they're struggling a lot because of the tariffs, because of the uncertainty, and everyone is like kind of like existing in this limbo, and it's not really good.
The fantasy doesn't always match the reality of it. And when you factor in the long hours, the tax burdens, the high cost of insurance, if you haven't shopped for health insurance on your own, you'll be in for a real surprise. The idea of running your own business does lose its luster relatively quickly. Not to mention, you always got to worry about where your next paycheck is coming from, and that's often easier said than done. So what happens? The guy, out of frustration, leaves his job to chase the side hustle dream. It doesn't pan out. And then he feels too embarrassed or defeated to rejoin the traditional workforce. Pride that we all have tends.
I had no problem. Like when I knew that things are not looking good, I decided, okay, I need to pivot right now. There's no point in doing what I've done for the past couple of years because this is clearly not working. And then I did go back, right? I set my ego aside and I was very upfront. I want to do something else. And I feel some like stable employment is going to work better for me. But guess what happened? I got screwed over because it's so difficult to find a place where you're being supported and treated fairly and you're not being judged. And there's the work environment is not toxic. The person can pay you. It's insane. And if you think about some of the more stable sectors that existed out there that provided like semi-stable employment, like tech, there were massive layoffs from Meta, Google, right? Things are changing. So that sector is not stable anymore. And, like if you had a cushy job in tech, like that doesn't really exist anymore, perhaps for some people, right? Because they got laid off and they're trying to figure out what they're going to do next. Not only that, but AI is having an impact on everything. So yeah, like it's tough. It's really tough right now.
To kick in.
I just realized it doesn't matter how early I go to sleep. I just don't want to go to work. I could have gone to bed at 8 p.m., did yoga, drank tea, had my soul cleansed by a monk. It doesn't matter. When that alarm hits, I'm still waking up like I just got hit by a tranquilizer dart. I suddenly never felt so tired in my life. And I'm not tired. I'm rebelling. This isn't fatigue. This is a protest against responsibility.
Now let's talk about burnout and mental health. This one is huge. Burnout isn't just a buzzword. It is real, and it is especially a thing post-pandemic. And if you're somebody that's faced a particularly long, difficult, and frustrating job search, I'm sure each of you has thought about calling it quits at some point. And men in particular, for whatever the reason, are less likely to talk about mental health. They're less likely to seek help, and they're more likely to just shut down. They disappear from the workforce quietly. There's no dramatic exit. They're just gone.
As a man, I don't feel like I'm worthy of being with my family. I'm so angry, and I don't like it. I don't like feeling like this. I don't like feeling angry, and I feel trapped as a stay-at-home parent. But there's no other option. But now I feel like I just want to run away.
And then, of course, we have changing family dynamics. Some men are choosing to stay home and care for kids.
This is terrible. I mean, just imagine you're the leader of your family and then you feel like that guy. And I'm not saying it's everyone, but and I think he was very brave to, talk about it and get emotional about it. But I think as guys, we don't like getting emotional. Maybe we're okay to do that with like if you have like a close-knit circle, if you have it, and then you get emotional there, or maybe with family members, your spouse, maybe your kids, but you don't want to show that publicly, right? And then when your livelihood is being impacted by by external factors so much, and you've been putting up with it for like 5 years, right? Like as the guy said, like from COVID, right? That's insane. Like you're putting your reps in, you're trying your best, and it's still not enough. That's how I feel. Like in 2025, especially. I'm trying my best and it's still not enough. And when is it going to be enough? Like what is enough? Like you want me to cut my arm off or what? Like should I work like 20 hours every day? Like what's the solution? Because I'm being told like I don't have enough experience or I don't have enough skills, or maybe or whatever else your boss is telling you, right? And then you go out on your own and you're trying to start a business, and then it's tough out there. It's so tough. Like I cannot even tell you how tough it is. You know, like I have a $9 million portfolio, which is, I'd say, it's a lot for sure. You know, I helped make millions of dollars for clients, but there's always another media buyer who spend more than me. There's always another person who's willing to work for less than me, and that's more like an industry specific problem, because media buying is changing, right? It's getting more competitive because AI is basically changing the landscape a lot, and it's having an impact on how much you can charge or how much you can ask for, right? But I think this is universal, and this probably applies to a lot of us, that you feel your work environment is toxic and you don't want to stay there anymore, but you don't have a choice because you have to stay there because you have to pay the freaking mortgage, your car, your like whatever your kid needs to do in order to get by, right? Like having kids, it's expensive these days, and we're all dealing with this. We're all having problems, and there's this growing anger. People are upset, like that guy, upset, angry, and we had enough. Enough is enough, and changes need to happen quickly, because if they're not going to happen, there's going to be violence for sure, and we've already seen it, right? And I'm not saying it's going to be everyone, and I'm not encouraging you to be violent, but people get angry. When people get angry, some of us get violent, and then you've seen it. People start to vandalize in LA, that sort of thing. It's unacceptable. It's not okay. But I think when something like that happens, it's actually a sign of something bigger and something more macro. Like those people don't act like that for no reason at all. Anyways.
Kids and elderly parents. Oftentimes this is out of necessity, because before the pandemic, we were all pretty much in the office. Then during the pandemic, we all switched to remote. So it caused us to have to make adjustments, especially with childcare, etc. And what's happened lately? We've been forced back into the office, and it has caused families to try to scramble in order to keep up. And oftentimes this is falling onto men. And this is increasingly a thing in dual income households where the spouse can reasonably and realistically make more money than the man. And let's be real, childcare is really expensive, especially if you have more than one kid. And if a household runs the numbers and finds that it costs more for dad to work than to stay home, then that decision makes itself. But that guy, I would argue the stay-at-home mom as well, doesn't show up in the data as employed, even if he's contributing massively to the household.
As I'm growing older, I'm just seeing like all these jobs I work at like don't really mean much. Like it just helps pay my bills and helps me like stay afloat and pays for the roof on my head. But it's like, what else does it give? And I think that's what a lot of people are realizing is like you get like 25 or 30 bucks an hour, if not more, maybe even 100 grand. But it's like, shit, what can I get with it when everything is so expensive these days? Houses are 500 grand and they're shitty. In some areas, maybe 300 grand, and depending on the area. But it's like, is it really worth it for some house? You're paying so much for just like to live or like own something, and like all these taxes and insurance and bills. It's just like, holy shit, what am I even working for? And that's why I'm seeing like a lot of homeless people like that just give up. Like, it's crazy.
Then, of course, we have wages that aren't keeping up. When a full-time job barely pays the bills, people start looking for alternatives. And in today's world, it's entirely possible to piece together gig work, Uber shifts, DoorDash, online side hustles, and still come out ahead, or at least break even. But that also means that millions of men are drifting into informal or inconsistent employment. In other words, underemployment. And again, it is not counted towards official numbers, so it's really hard to track. And when every job feels like it's a dead end or it's underpaid, why bother?
I woke up today and had a realization that I might actually be done with corporate America. Realizing the lack of agency I have over my life, realizing the amount of awful people that I've just been subjected to working under and working with. Like, yeah, I'm tapping out, honestly.
And let's face it, they're disillusioned. A lot of men feel like they've played by the rules and have gotten nothing in return. Old promises like
That is exactly how I feel. I follow the rules. I play the game. And I put up with a lot of shit. I did. I have. With clients, with coworkers, managers, right? I've been pretty much just putting up with it for years, right? And it doesn't really matter whether you have clients or you're managing or you're working on someone else's clients. The work is work, and you have to interact with people. And I experienced a lot of negative experiences, I'd say, regardless of type of employment, or type of income source, I guess, whatever. So it's very true. We don't feel that the system is fair. We're getting tricked into working significantly more for the same amount of money. Like, it's freaking insane. Like, companies are not increasing wages at all. Like, at all, whatsoever. Like, none. Right? And they want us to work harder. And I think that's basically it. And that's why a lot of us are pissed off and frustrated, because we are expected to work twice as hard for the exact same amount of money as 5 years ago. And I don't think I'm even lying when I'm saying that. That's the case. That's what we deal with. And I'm sorry, but like, that's not good enough. If you're incapable of paying for either client work or as a salary, like, I'm sorry, but it's not going to work out. And just because you cannot pay enough, like, why should I? And then not only that, you're not even being nice to me. Why should I give a crap? For you to bully me because you don't have anyone to bully or something? It's insane. It's totally ridiculous.
company loyalty, job security, pensions, and a comfortable retirement are pretty much a thing of the past. And worse, nobody's taught them the rules of the game. Well, at least not outside of this channel. But it's pretty much up to you to figure it out as you go. The issue is most people don't, and they end up making mistakes that doom their career before it even gets off the ground. So what ends up happening? They tap out. And honestly, I don't blame them. But here is the problem. This isn't sustainable for anyone. A massive portion of the working population just can't sit on the sidelines forever. We are already seeing the cracks, industries that can't find the right talent, tax revenues that are shrinking, social safety nets are also being strained. And more importantly, the men themselves are struggling emotionally and financially. Listen, you have every right to be overly jaded in your career. The job market has made it that way. But here's the hard truth. Work provides more than just a paycheck. It gives structure, purpose, identity, social interaction, long-term stability. And when men disengage from that entirely, we run the risk of deeper loneliness, depression, and societal instability.
Here's the problem. I feel with a lot of the work that is available nowadays, you don't feel like you're contributing, or even if you are contributing, it feels like a scam. It feels like grift. So a lot of people say, you know what, this is not for me. And I think a lot of us think, you know what, I want to do something meaningful. I want to work. I want to go to work. I want to do my thing. But I want to do it for the right person. Whether we're talking about a client, business partner, whatever. Like, you don't want toxic relationships. And I think we had enough of listening to people, you know, just like talking, and telling us, you know, and I'm not saying like he's wrong or anything. Like, I'm not mad at him. I think this is a really good video, and you should definitely check the channel out, because I think, yeah, like he does a great job. But you know, we just cannot, like, how long do we want to put up with this? Like, when are we going to say enough is enough? Because this is not a fluke. This has been happening for a while now. And I don't feel that companies are trying to do anything to improve the situation. I think the situation is getting worse, to be honest. We are expected to do more work for the same amount of money. There's no opportunities to you know, go up the career ladder and get promoted, and then what? Like, you know, especially when you're in your 30s, you need to think, you know, we have partners, we have, you know, kids. There's a lot to think about. And a lot of us who were very career oriented for a long time, we might go, you know what, this is not really worth it. So I'm going to focus on my family here, because you asked me to put a lot of extra work in, and all the extra work is going to pay off in the future, because that's how a lot of us are operating, right? We say, you know what, I'm going to work, I'm going to put the extra hours in exchange, maybe I'm going to have to work less later, or maybe in a couple of years or something. But then, you know, well, the company made a pivot, so you're fired, or there's absolutely no way for you to go ahead because they're not letting you. So maybe you're forced to job hop, right? Or any of those scenarios. And like how long you want to do it, how long you want to do that, like, you know, when is it going to stop? So yeah, I do feel that men need to find meaning, but right now it feels like there aren't many opportunities out there that as men we are excited about. And that causes a lot of harm, because what happens, a lot of the money is being gated, right, by people who have been in business for a long time, right? And they basically try to control clients or the money or whatever, and they're not letting us enter. They're holding on, they're lobbying away, and they're making sure that there's no way for us to get ahead. And that's where things are going to get a little crazy, right? Because if there's nothing to fall back on in terms of safety nets, and we have zero control over just in general, like, you know, what happens to us at work, it's not going to end well.
So what do we do about it? If you're a man watching this, and my statistics say about 70% of you are, and you feel like you're being pushed out, boxed out, or burned out, I get it. I really do. I have been there myself. But you don't have to stay stuck, because re-engaging and actively managing your career does not mean that you're selling your soul to a job that you hate. In fact, it's the exact opposite. It means learning how to navigate this new world of work with an actual strategy, and potentially for the first time ever. So this might mean learning how to position yourself for better roles, upgrading your skills smartly, and not just chasing endless degrees or certifications that don't truly add value. Learning how to write a resume like a recruiter would. And I know a lot of people give me grief about this, but learning how to write your own resume and not trying to outsource it to everybody else is a crucially important skill in your career, and one that everybody should have. It pays dividends on the bottom line and how much earning potential you have long term. It also means using networking to your advantage without feeling awkward. And yes, it does mean that you're going to have to put yourself out there. And I know that that's an uncomfortable thing for a lot of people, but there are methods to do this that are actually effective. And when people say networking doesn't work, I'm going to say you're probably doing it wrong. And finally, it means getting clear on what you want long term, so that you are not drifting aimlessly. Because if you do not have a plan, you are never going to succeed. And nobody's going to do it for you but you. Listen, if you want more help figuring out how to take back control in your career, check out the free training that I mentioned at the top of this video. The link is in the description in the comments below. The job market may be broken, but you don't have to be. You just need to learn how to play the game like somebody who knows the rules, and I can teach you them. If you want to supercharge your career, check out my website, alifeafterlayoff.com. Appreciate you watching. We'll see you on the next one.
Yeah, the big problem here is that we cannot follow the rules, because it's impossible to play the game anymore. So yeah, I don't know what needs to happen for things to get fixed, right? I'm not a politician. So I feel what we need is thoughtful policies, and they need to happen now, right? Because if this is going to go on and we're not being protected, we're being screwed over left, right, and center, you know, the previous generations are holding on to the money and the clients and the relationships, and they're not letting us get ahead. At some point, something is going to break. Something will give, and then there will be conflict. I don't exactly know how it's going to happen or when it's going to happen, but it's going to happen if things are not changing. So yeah, it's nuts out there. Please take care. If you ever feel, you know, like if you're burnt out, take care of yourself. Seriously. I've been there before several times. Don't push it. If you ever feel you need to take a break, take that break. Because right now, it just really doesn't feel like we're being taken care of. So if you want to see more videos like this, please give this video a like. Also, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. This was my first time trying this format. So yeah, let me know. And please also subscribe to this channel. I would really appreciate that. And I'll see you soon.